What's going on? Today's topic is, do I have to leave America for the interview? Friends, welcome to Green Card Guys TV. I'm your host, John Ting, helping you solve your immigration problem and hopefully even prevent it from happening in the first place. Welcome, welcome. Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock Central Time. I am out of Houston, Texas. And again, today's topic is, do I have to leave America for the interview? Now, some of you fortunately don't have to leave, and that typically in that scenario, that is, the most common one is marriage to a U.S. citizen, and that you have entered your most recent entry into the United States was with a visa or some kind of legal entry that it no longer has to be only a visa. It could be parole, for example, like humanitarian parole. Ultimately, one example to look at it is if you have a border crossing card, or like, which is for Mexicans, or I-94, which used to be on this little white card, but now it's online in the CBP website. So that's just something to consider. But there are still other situations where you don't actually need that white card or that border crossing card or legal entry. But one more other one that has been coming up a lot more often these days is actually in terms of the entry is that if you have TPS and maybe you have, sorry, my voice cracked a bit, immediate relative that can apply for you, your unlawful presence is waived, right? But because if you had traveled, left the United States, doesn't matter which country you went to, left, and you had advanced parole, it was approved, and you came back into the U.S., there's new case law. There's recent cases that can say, yes, you can get a residency status here in the United States. But even if you don't have any of those legal entry situation, there's something called military parole in place. So if you have a family member, no, not like an uncle or grandparent or anything like that, or aunt, it has to be a family, like in your nucleus, essentially, as a military family member. It doesn't have to be someone who's active duty. It could be someone that's in the reserve. So that can count. And so that's just one thing. Of course, they have to show a copy of the identification, DD 214, I believe it is. And then you can have your residency process here in the United States. You don't have to leave the United States at all for the visa interview. So that's a great thing. That's just one example. Another one is if you were a victim of a crime, whether it's just, someone completely random, or maybe it was through VAWA, Violence Against Women Act. And as the survivor, you don't have to be a woman. It can be any gender, or I guess you could say these days, no gender at all. The law, VAWA law, does not discriminate in terms of gender. So that's a good thing. Thank goodness. But whether it was U visa, T visa for trafficking, which, by the way, so I'm just going through a long list, but I want to share with you the other situation. But T visa, people think of it as trafficking, like human trafficking, which is, it is. It does include that situation, like being smuggled in the United States, as one example. But it also includes labor, like if you did not get paid your wages. Okay, so that's something to consider. That's a long list. That's a quick one run through, so I apologize if you didn't catch any of that. I'll save this video, and in the course of the next couple of weeks, we'll have kind of like a webinar series where if you want to join, I'll put a link out there, and you can join which one that's more specific to you. Let's see. Yeah, I had to pause there because my throat was getting a little itchy. Yeah, okay. So, but if you don't qualify for any of those situations, but you still have, for example, immediate relative, or even it's what we call family preference, maybe your parent sponsored you and you're over 21, whether your parent's a U.S. citizen or resident, that would be family preference. Or if your sibling sponsored you, or even if it's your spouse that sponsored you, but you don't have legal entry, you don't qualify for all the different options I mentioned earlier, which we internally in our office, we call that golden ticket. So you don't have to leave. Oh, the other one, sorry, on that long list where you don't have to leave is if you qualify for something called 245I. And that's an old law that's grandfathered by, signed off by President Clinton, I believe 1994 or 1996. So anyway, basically, excuse me. Basically, the you have to have a petition filed for you, okay, before April 30th, 2001. So that's a long time ago. You might wonder, well, how can anyone qualify for that now? Actually, a lot of people still qualify for that. You may have forgotten, possibly. The most common situation, I'm not sure why. Yeah, it makes sense that actually more people would have been sponsored by their sibling. I guess maybe because of the age and whatnot, because you could have been sponsored by a parent. But anyway, you had to have been sponsored by a U.S. citizen sibling at least. I mean, that's not part of the requirement, but that's the most common situation. But because of the visa bulletin, waiting for the visa, meaning basically the green card residency status, still takes years, on average, a decade or so, on average. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. 245. I need to drink some more water. 245I. I think it's very interesting because you don't actually have to be, it doesn't have to be just you. You know, it could be your spouse. It could include your children. It can. All these different other family members to be included. It takes a very detailed analysis by a lawyer. Okay, so let me pull up the visa bulletin for you so I can share my screen. If you're on Instagram, thank you for joining there. But if you want to see my screen, you can check it out at greencardguys.tv. Sorry, guys, and I was a little later on the show today because I had to take my brother-in-law to the clinic for LASIK. So if anyone has done that before, let me know how you've done on if you have done that. Okay, so here it is. I'm gonna scroll down on the website. The upcoming one is February 2023. So you just have a look, so you have an understanding if you haven't, maybe you're in a situation. But for family sponsored preferences, it's all listed here. You scroll down, you can see, for example, like Mexico, they're working on cases that were filed back in April 2001. So there's actually, in a scenario, what I'm talking about, people who have been who filed a petition around that time, and a lot of people that we've talked to had the petition filed around this time, April 2001, because when that law was announced, people were just, like a bum rush to file, basically, I guess you can say. So, but before this, even if the prior date passes, it should be okay for you. You just need to check. Normally, it's not okay, but because you have this old law that's grandfathered, let's say your child is now an adult and become 21, who's a U.S. citizen, they can still sponsor you. But the 245I, the main purpose of it is so that you don't have to leave America. You can have the interview, if there is an interview, because they can be waived, especially for parents. That would be here in the United States. This is the one that you people, especially I'm thinking in Spanish, like people think like fine. People think like some kind of extra payment, because it is, and it's $1,000 extra. Hopefully, USCS does not increase that fee. I don't think it will, because that's set through Congress. So, quick tip here. You might not have known this, but USCS fees are going to be increasing probably March or later, or soon thereafter. Okay, the federal rule is in the proposal phase right now, and it takes 60 days to allow you to provide comment period, is what we call it. So you can anonymously go in there. You don't have to put your full name or anything. You don't have to put your real name. I'll just put anonymous if you want to, and tell them what you think about that. If you say you don't want fees to increase, I don't think that's going to make a difference in that sense. But the government still needs to know. Okay, if you don't want them to go up. Hey, they claim that paying more will allow for more people to work with USCS. Let me know in the comments if you think that's wishful thinking. I don't know. We'll see. I gotta get some more water here. Natalia, thank you for your question. Our number should be in the description box below. I see you're on YouTube, and also it's where my finger is as well. So check that out. You can text it, especially y'all are busy or at work. It's all good. It's kind of funny. Some of y'all text us while you're at work because you try to see if we can jump on a call, or my team does, and a lot of y'all say you're working. So, but you don't want to forget the number. So it's on completely all good. My hair's a mess today. Maybe that's why my wife said I need to get a haircut. Oops. Okay, Malik, what's going on? How you doing? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, so other than that, I want to say, if for some reason you don't qualify for any of those options, and there's more, because now I'm thinking there's something called special immigrant juvenile visa, but again, that's very, very, very specific requirements. If you don't qualify for any of those, even let's say the common scenario that you are married to a U.S. citizen, no legal entry, no TPS, no DACA with AP or any of that, then you need to apply for a waiver. And it's called Unlawful Presence Waiver. If you Google search it, it could be called Family Unity Waiver. You can put in Unlawful Presence Waiver, and the form number specifically is 601A. Okay. Now, this is something, a program, I guess you could say, an application, a pathway created under the Obama administration. That is like one or two good things that he did for immigration. I mean, the deporter in chief label was created when he was president. A lot of people forget that. It's politics. I can't blame him. It's just how it works. Just like recently, there's some news against Biden about immigration. There's just so much crap going on in the world. I forgot what it is right now in the moment. Exactly, Malik. That's what I was just about to say. This, or what I just mentioned, the 601A waiver. But I'm sharing this today. If I could talk about every day, this waiver, and also like mandamus for case delays, I think I do try to talk about every day. I think they're very important to know. It's very important because some people, they've called our office. They're like, John, I have an interview scheduled abroad, like in Mexico. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's take a look. Let's take a look if we should go or not to verify, because there's obviously a reason that we all both feel a little uneasy about this. Like, why are you telling us, right? So we take a look at the paperwork. We ask the questions. Did you enter America with a visa? Your most recent entry. Okay, if you didn't, then do you qualify under those long list of exceptions? Okay, and if no, then okay, have the waiver. And they're like, waiver? What waiver? I say, yeah, you've heard about it. The 601A waiver? No, I don't heard. So people have heard of waiver in general, and that's a regular 601 without the A. But that was before that still exists. But President Obama created the 601A, and the A allows you to stay here in the United States during the processing of the case. But it does not allow you to stay here for the interview. You still have to leave the United States for the interview itself, but you don't want to leave until that waiver is approved. So this is very, very important information that I hope you're all gathering here to understand that. I don't know, I think there's like Facebook groups about that. The problem about all these different groups is that I don't think there's lawyers in that group. I don't know, but I've heard there's Facebook groups about it. So you need to speak with a lawyer 101 to make sure if this is a viable thing for you, because some people don't even know about the waiver in general. Like they heard about it. They're like, oh, well, I do have a parent because it's not just spouse. You can be qualified when it's a parent who has status, residency, or U.S. citizen. Okay, and some people say, well, my parents, like 60 years old, they're doing their own thing. They're going on vacation. There's no medical hardship, and that's okay. Yes, the standard is hardship, but that doesn't mean like the person, the relative, the mom, I'm sorry, the parent or the spouse has to be like in hospital or anything. It doesn't require that kind of documentation. Hey, if your parent or sibling, spouse is sick or has any kind of medical concern, absolutely, we'll use the information, but that's not required actually. So keep that in mind, because a lot of people have already had the petition approved, but then just thought they had to wait for something. And we asked people, what are you waiting for? And they thought they had, like, their parent had to have a medical hardship. No, that's not required. So if you're in that type of situation, let us know. Fortunately, knock on wood, I don't like to make guarantees. Lawyers are not allowed to make guarantees. You probably noticed that already, just because of our state ethics. But at the same time, I've only had one waiver case approved. Again, not a guarantee for your case, one way or the other, but it was only denied because the spouse was in jail. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Let's just say they weren't cooperating with each other anymore. Okay, so that's it. I'm not saying it's easy. Definitely not. It's not easy to apply for this waiver. But what I want to express is that our team works with you and your spouse, or you and your parent, to prepare this. The main thing is the letter. Okay, you each need to write a letter. And it's not like, I love you, this is how we met. No, it's not just about that. It's a lot more detail. Like, I'll give you a little ideas, like has to do with the government. The USCS officer has to understand your life. So it's like as if we're basically sitting down with you, as if we were in your home, to understand what your day-to-day life is, because we both need to explain that to the USCS officer, which is difficult to do, right? Some people just have a hard time figuring out what caption to write on their social media post. So imagine like a 4 to 5 page letter. It can be difficult, and that's why we're here to help. That's part of our service. How's it going, Pella? Nice to see you. All right. So that was a lot. That was a lot to say. Now I can take a deep breath. Okay. So let me know in the comments. Do you have any questions? Another thing is that we do offer free 15 minutes. You're welcome to unlock those free 15 minutes by taking a quiz on our website. Because unfortunately, we can't guarantee to every single person the free 15 minutes. So it just depends on timing. Because sometimes our CARES team, who are not lawyers, but our CARES team who answer the phone, they can point you in the right direction. We do have free guides available. Some of them are on the website, greencardguys.com. Just an example where you may not necessarily need to speak with a lawyer yet. At least we'll send you the free guide first so you can take a look at it. But people who are outside the U.S. and fail to maintain their status and have resident card. So I can record about that a different day. There's a lot of information to share on that, where you might need to refile to become a resident again. And I know it can be frustrating. So hot tip here, if you are outside the US and you're reaching about 6 months outside the US, you want to spend that money to buy that plane ticket to come back before that you don't want to be outside the US for more than 6 months in a calendar year. It doesn't mean it has to be 6 months in a row. It could, it can skip around. It could be multiple trips. So this is for people who have resident status. So how do you prevent this situation? Because you don't want to show the customs officer that you have failed to maintain your status. You want to apply for a re-entry permit. And I get it. Depending on your timing, you might not be able to get that re-entry permit in time before you leave back out. Because we represented some parents, Vietnam or other countries where they're used to their life there. It's a little bit more easygoing there, and not like in America. You got to work, or at least be a social media influencer or something. But nothing wrong with that. So, anyways, yeah, the timing wise, where they have a bit, your parents have a business in their country of nationality, and who knows, maybe the processing. Anyway, they get to America, they're like, this is not actually what I thought it'd be like. I want to stick to my business back in your country. So you need to apply for reentry permit, 131 form. Okay. So, anyways, that is the best proof to show that you didn't want to abandon your status. That would just suck, to be honest. You went through this whole process to get residency for your parents, and then they're like, turn around, like, sorry, buddy, appreciate the invite to America, but let's head back. I've heard that happen, so that can be frustrating because it's not cheap to get status, unfortunately. All right, Malik, I see a couple questions here. You said, what's needed for 601A for a person overstayed residing here more than 10 years in a permanent? Yeah, so since your mother is sick, sorry to hear that. Hopefully she's got everything she needs for her to have a speedy recovery. But first thing, medical records, and make sure they're current in a sense. All right, because if you file the application, whether with a lawyer or on your own, and it's outdated medical records, USCS is likely going to send you a request for evidence. But if you're listening to this already and you already filed your application, it's okay. I mean, if they send you a request for evidence, just be ready for it, because sometimes especially when we have court cases, removal proceedings, and there's timing involved, right? Deadlines. I don't know why. Sometimes maybe it was just pandemic. I'm not sure. Less people working, but it took them a long time to give us the records. It ridiculously long. So long that I just our team just went to the medical clinic. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, we need this stuff. It shouldn't be that difficult. So, but yeah, I mean, since you're telling me, Malik, that your mother is sick, that'd be the first thing. But also in your letter, you have to explain, how you take care of her, assuming you're the one that's applying for this waiver. Okay, that you're the applicant. And there's been times where the applicant, foreign national applicant, does not live with their family member who's sick, for example. Or maybe it doesn't have to be sick, like hospital bed type sick, but in a situation where you still just have to take care of your parent, it doesn't require that you live with them. It just how you have to explain the situation, right, in the letter. And I don't recommend that you handwrite these letters. I really recommend that you use a computer. Okay, you type it out. So it's easy. You want to make it easy for the government officer to read it. So if y'all have bad handwriting, then you make it more difficult for them. All right. Malik, you asked about how successful is cancellation removal filing currently. I think you mean 42B maybe, or 42A. Let me know if that's what you mean. You're asking for a friend who's okay, that's for your friend. Okay, gotcha. Well, I hope your friend's mom has a speedy recovery. Completely relies on her daughter, who's now 29. Oh, yeah. Okay, expired visitor visa 12 years ago. So hopefully your friend's already started the process, and hopefully your friend's mom has been in a situation, has the capacity to sign it, the petition, because that's step one, is the petition. And you can't file. Here's another key tip. You can't file the waiver application until the petition's approved. So if your petition is taking a really long time, you may want to consider a mandamus lawsuit. Okay. These mandamus lawsuits is not for everyone. It can be expensive depending on your budget, but it is the last option. Okay. Some people think like, oh, contacting USCS, hey, what the hell's up with my case? Or contacting your local congressperson, your politician in your area is going to do something. It's not. If anything, they might give you like an update, but that doesn't mean it's going to push the case along. No, that's what the lawsuit is for. Okay. But look, if you call our office, you're like, well, I just filed a petition 2 months ago, John. Can we do anything? Maybe file expedite request, but you have to qualify for it. It's not just anyone. But if you call, you say, oh, I filed 2 months ago. Can we file a lawsuit? No, that's too early. It has to be, in law, we call unreasonable delay. So if you're wondering how long that is, I mean, depending on the application, but generally at least 15 months. There's some that it could be less than 15 months, but again, it depends. But even if like the waiver, for example, oh yeah, we're talking about waiver right now. I just think I just pulled it up yesterday, but a waiver 601A, pulled it up yesterday on the USCS website, processing times says, I think it said like 39 months. This is going to frustrate you if you didn't know this already. Before the pandemic, our average time, well, the government's average time for our cases and checking with our colleagues is 8 months, around 8 months for the waiver to be processed to a decision. Now it's online. It says 39 months. Okay. I don't know. They seem to change it every day, but it doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily seem it's going to go down. It's, in fact, it's going to increase. But just because it says, let's just say 24 months, that doesn't mean you have to literally wait 24 months. You can file a lawsuit before, because lawyers that handle these kind of lawsuit cases understand or know the average time that it should take. And that was, I guess you could say, before the pandemic. So anyways, hopefully that helps. All right, great questions. Appreciate your time. Today's Friday. I'm going to be out next week. I've been told by my family I got to chill out and take a break. My team tells me that too. But I've recorded some information, some videos for you, just because I feel like I just got to get information out there. So stay tuned. Okay. That is next week. I'll be out, but we'll still have information out there. And if you need to reach us, our number is down below on YouTube and Facebook, or also in the description box. I appreciate you. If you want to go to our website, greencardguys.com, we do offer free guides on our website, answers to common questions, and talks about why we're better than most law firms. Okay, check it out. And of course, the most popular one is about mandamus, learning pros about why filing a lawsuit. Okay, thank you so much, and I wish you a wonderful weekend. Take care.